You are listening to I Am Interchange.
I am interchange.
I am interchange.
I am Interchange.
Fostering curiosity, education, and empathy by exploring the controversial and the provocative.
I am interchange.
Author and radio host Tom Egelhoff is no stranger to change. Over the 77 years he's spent on this planet, he's weathered periods of poverty and prosperity, wartime and peace. He's seen technology shift the landscape of communication and watched medical innovation extend the lives and livelihoods of the nearly 5 generations that have come since his birth. He's witnessed many of the defining failures and triumphs of this country's history: assassinations, explorations, recession, and expansion. While the country teeters on the edge of the largest wealth transfer in its history, as aging boomers and traditionalists pass along financial assets estimated in excess of $68 trillion to their progeny, further polarizing the haves and have-nots, and reinforcing unparalleled income inequality. Egelhoff laughs at the worries. A staggering waves of homes and businesses is predicted to hit the market over the next 20 years, but Egelhoff smiles at the financially apocalyptic predictions. The solutions will come when they are necessary, but they will come in their own time, as they always have. Welcome to I Am Interchange. I'm your host, Tate Chamberlain, and I'd like to welcome Tom Egelhoff, who's going to be on our upcoming event, OK Boomer. Tom's an author, a radio host, and a baby boomer helper. How's it going, Tom?
Good. How are you?
Doing fine, thanks. Thanks for being here.
No problem. Happy to be here.
It's usually in the morning, but we're in the afternoon because you have your own morning show.
I've only been up 12 hours, so I'm fine.
So you're a baby boomer helper, but you're not a baby boomer.
I'm before the baby boomers. Yeah, they're 46 to 64. I'm 43.
Good, yeah. What made you help the baby boomers out and not your own generation?
Well, one of the reasons was that when my wife had some illnesses, I went online trying to find out about Medicare, find out about various programs that were available, help, things like that. And it was all over the place. So I started a website and tried to assemble as much information as I could in one place on Medicare, on Medicaid, what all it covers, what it doesn't cover. What A covers, what B covers, what D covers and doesn't cover, what tests are covered, what tests are not covered, all of that. So it got to be quite a job.
It's a lot to organize. So your
it really
wife,
is, yeah. And veterans too, because being a veteran, had to go through the VA and all of their hoops and things, So
So you had your own struggles, and your wife, it was kind of inspired by your wife's sickness,
right,
though,
yeah,
to organize.
Yeah, she had some, she fell at work, broke her hip, and then, there were some other complications and things along the way. So we were just trying to find this out, and I thought to myself, well, there's probably other seniors who have the same problems. So why not try to assemble as much as I can in one spot and maybe help those folks out? So that's was the genesis of babyboomerhelper.com. Yeah.
So let's backtrack. Tell me a little bit about your origin. Where did you come from? And
I was born in a little town in Illinois. We grew up on a farm. I would say we were middle class, probably, maybe upper middle class at the time. We had a small farm. My father had a floral landscaping business, and we farmed the ground we were on. We kind of farmed in the summer, landscaped, and then the floral business kept us going in the wintertime.
So what you grew, the floral arrangements you sold throughout different events?
Well, they went for everything. We did weddings, funerals, you name it, whatever florists do, Mother's Day, proms.
Yeah, oh my gosh,
you
I
name
used to
it.
be busy.
Yeah.
What did your mom do?
She was just part of the business. She did the books and helped out my father. She was a stay-at-home mom.
How did you earn your first dollar then?
Working at the business.
Family business.
$40 a week, $1 an hour.
What was the most dreamy allowance buy you could think of at the time?
Oh, boy, well, we had drive-in movies then. You could go to the drive. You could go to the drive-in, get a half a tank of gas, and feed your date for less than $5.
Can't do that now.
No, you can't. So, You can't even leave the house for $5.
Good old inflation.
Yeah, good old inflation. Yeah, that's exactly right.
That's right. You can't even leave the house for $5.
No,
What
you can't.
generation were your parents?
My parents were, they were World War II.
So the greatest generation?
Yeah, my mother, her birthday is December 7th, so she was having her birthday party when the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. So
Yeah, so the lost generation was 1883 to 1900.
yeah, she was part of the greatest generation. My father, too. I think my father was born in the 1920s, I think, something like that. My grandfather, of course, before that, who lived with us as well. He was a high school principal and county surveyor and very educated guy. Yeah.
What's something you thought that your parents' generation did well?
What they did well was they learned from the Depression. They learned that you pay for things as you go, because there was no charge cards, there was no nothing like that. You pretty well paid as you went. Now we did have credit for people at the shop where they would come in and order something on the phone and we'd bill them for it.
Right. Is that before? That's probably before credit cards.
Oh, yeah. Credit cards didn't come along until the 60s, till I was well out of the business by then.
So what's something that they didn't do so well at?
They probably didn't spend enough time together not working. It was pretty much a 18-hour day deal, because my father was probably on every board around, and my mother did the books at night. And so they pretty much they did play golf a lot, as much as they could. So they did like doing that together. We did take vacations, but not Europe or Hawaii or places like that. We kind of
Get in the car.
Yeah, we'd get in the car and drive 100 miles somewhere, and that was our vacation. So,
you think that they could have spent more time for themselves and with their family?
yeah, I think a lot of the business things I learned from my father, watching how he handled customers. And we lived right across the driveway from our business. So people would come at Sunday morning and they would knock on the door and say, "Hey, I forgot my wife's anniversary. I got to have something." My dad would go out and make something. My mother used to get so mad at him that you got to stop saying yes to these people. Get them out of here. So I think I learned early on that if you're in a business, or like I am on the radio or whatever, you're never off. When you meet somebody or you go out in public, you're dressed appropriately. You can be in jeans, but they're clean jeans, and that kind of thing. And if you meet somebody, you're always courteous to them. You don't slam them because I'm a big personality, you can't talk to me. But all people come up and while I'm eating or wherever, and and I'm always courteous to everybody.
Does your wife ever reflect something similar to your
Yeah,
childhood?
she gets mad at me for why are you doing this? Why are you doing this extra work for no money? Or why are you helping this person when they can probably afford to pay you? Because they're a friend, I'm helping them out. So, yeah, it's a thin line, between. Sometimes people have a hard time charging for something that's easy for them to do. Well, gee, anybody could paint a portrait of you, so why should I charge you for that?
That's what I run into. It's hard to value my services and what I do, and especially to charge a friend.
Yeah. Yeah, you sit down and you say, well, gee, how much, I don't want to antagonize this person, but, and a lot of people start out charging too little, and that hurts their business. They need to value their work, and a lot of people don't.
That's something, that's hard, especially when I got to eat, but I also have friends that need help.
That's why I say there's a balance there, to where, okay, I can go this, I might be able to pay my neighbor's mortgage for a month as a favor, but I'm not going to do it every month. So.
Right. So after growing up a little bit, what was your education like? Where did you head?
I went to college on a basketball scholarship to school in Texas.
Okay.
Went down there for a couple of years and kind of got burned out on sports. Came back and did factory work and got drafted to Vietnam.
Because you weren't a student?
Yeah, I wasn't a student, yeah.
I remember my dad didn't get drafted because he was in college at the time. You went to Vietnam. Tell me about it.
Well, it was not a nice place. The biggest thing I took out of Vietnam, I think, was as a youngster growing up, I guess, I took a lot of things for granted about our country. And being over there really drove home what we really have here that wasn't there.
So the appreciation that you might have had going to college and staying in college, that really, you really appreciated that. And
Well, I appreciated the fact that I lived in a country where, you're not restricted to where you can go, and you're not restricted to what you want to do, and that kind of thing. Because we were pretty much restricted to base because it wasn't safe to go anywhere else unless you went as a group.
Kind of your own quarantine.
Yeah, it was. Well, I remember we saw Bob Hope on Christmas Day, and probably most of the people listening to us have no clue who Bob Hope is. But anyway, we saw him on Christmas Day, and our company commander sent us out there at 7:30 in the morning to save him a seat. Myself and a couple other guys went out there. I was his driver at the time because I had less than a month left, I think, before I came home. We're sitting there, and in front of us, we were in the third or fourth row, I think. In front of us are, of course, the nurses and the wounded get the front row, of course. So we got all these wounded guys, and I remember these big stars singing Silent Night. The tears are streaming down their faces. I forget who all was there. You can look up Bob Hope Christmas '66 on YouTube, and you'll. I'm in the third row there by the stand where the TV camera is. So, but yeah, that was a very memorable experience there. And of course, when you've got 30 days or so left is the scaredest I ever was. And I'm got to, as my time coming to an end here, and I'm not going to get to go home except in a box.
So you had kind of senioritis that you were going to get out of there, but you had 30 days of
till my time was up. Yeah, it was a 1-year tour at the time that I was in. We went over with the very first group in '65. I know. Gosh, I was sitting with the supply sergeant one night. We got movies at night, to, kind of an outdoor little theater thing. And we would watch Combat in Cheyenne and the westerns of the day, back then. And he was killed the next day. And I'm going, wow, In fact, I took the call. I was, in the CO's thing there and took the call that he got killed, and had a
That's
wife
scary.
and a baby. It's not a nice place.
It seems like in the movies also where someone's about to be able to leave and then they're called out for that last.
Bad things happen to good people sometimes. So.
You're not a baby boomer. You're part of the silent generation. Why is it called the silent generation?
Well, I think because we looked at the protesters, those of us who are in Vietnam, and I can only speak for me, not everybody that was in Vietnam. We felt that if you're going to protest, why weren't you protesting North Vietnam? Why were you protesting
North Vietnam for socialism?
For the war? Yeah. Why weren't you? I mean, we protest against the Germans and the Japanese in World War II, and even the Koreans in Korean War, but we couldn't understand why people were protesting us and spitting on us, calling us baby killers and everything, when previous generations had supported the people who were over there.
It was the silent generation because the activists didn't support the troops.
Well, I think that was part of it because we felt rather than protest visually and audibly, we protested with our votes and with our leaders.
If you didn't agree to a war that we were in, would you support it no matter what?
Well, I have to support the troops no matter what because
it's not their decision.
Yeah, it's not their decision to go there. So you got to support the troops. You can certainly take exception with the leaders who sent them there. And I would say, don't go to the streets with signs protesting them, write them letters, or call them, or call their offices.
But
don't go out there and protest the troops.
Because it's not it wasn't their call.
Yeah, because the North Vietnamese see all these protests against the war. What do you think they think? Hey, we're winning.
Yeah, it's kind of a battle of
it's an ideology.
Spirit,
Yeah,
ideology. Sure.
Exactly right. Yeah. So, how would the Germans felt if we had gone, Germany's great, stop fighting Germany?
Wasn't there a Nazi rally in Madison Square Garden?
Oh, there's been lots of Nazi rallies,
Yeah.
but there's all sorts of white supremacist movement or whatever, call those folks out, and I certainly don't agree with them or the KKK or any of those folks.
What about like nationalism? Would you say you're a nationalist?
Well, I hate to fall into a label.
It's hard for me. Like I weigh tribalism and nationalism, and to me, looking out for your own, taking care of your family, protecting what you know. Yeah. And so for me, nationalism's pretty gray if you compare it to tribalism.
Well, I use the airplane method. Put your own mask on first, then help others. That's what I live by. So, your family comes first, your God or your, whatever. And you have a sort of a list of priorities of what's important to you. But I think your family pretty well comes first,
The airplane method.
Yeah. You secure your own mask first before you help others. So
you're on this topic called OK Boomer, and it's about the next 30 years as the largest wealth transfer in history is projected to take place. I think the combined worth between boomers and the silent generation is $68 trillion of wealth.
Could be, yeah.
That's one piece of it. It's also projected to create millennials as the wealthiest generation ever. A couple of statistics around that, and then we'll keep
Yeah, I think we learned from our parents who drove it into us about the Depression that, you better save some money. You better plan for your retirement. You're going to be selling pencils on the corner or apples like they did in 1929.
Well, and I think the boomers did that. When the boomers were millennials' age in their 20s and 30s, they held 21% of the nation's wealth. And now that millennials are the same age, they hold 3%. I've read that after this next wealth transfer occurs, that the income inequality is going to get far worse because it'll go to fewer people.
Well, you know my thoughts on that. I don't believe there's any such thing as income inequality.
Okay.
There isn't. There would be if
What are people complaining about?
Well, there would be an income inequality if there was a finite amount of money. In other words, if I made $1, I'd have to take it from someone else. When Mark Zuckerberg started Facebook, he didn't take the money from someone else.
Like initially when he started it with his original partner's money?
Yeah, he started it in his dorm room. And it started on Harvard, and a lot of people liked it, and they put it in another school and whatever, but they put up their own money to do that. And they showed someone that, hey, this could be a big deal. Why not invest in it?
What about someone with 3 jobs that barely make it?
Well, when I and my wife first moved here, we didn't realize how expensive it was going to be to live here. So we cut the cable, we cut the paper. We cut the lights.
You trimmed the fat because you couldn't afford it.
Exactly. We retired debt. We saved money.
What about inflation? I mean, to buy a house is an insane amount more.
It's an insane amount of money here
Yeah.
in Bozeman. It's not an insane amount of money in other parts of the country.
Oh, okay, so you're paying for the quality of life, and that that costs money.
You're paying what people are willing to pay to be in this acre of land.
But you can move somewhere else. I mean, isn't that income inequality? Or is that just someone who has a better job?
No. When I lived in Illinois, I lived in this small town where I grew up, and there was no opportunity there, so I packed up everything and went to San Diego, because there was more opportunity there. Was that an expensive place? Yeah. But I was able to secure a good job. I was homeless for a good while, living in my car, panhandling for money to go to get gas to go to job interviews. And back then, you could give people a phone number for a payphone. So I had to park my car by a payphone
and
wait for anybody to call me for a job.
You didn't have a $700 cell phone.
I didn't have a $700 cell phone. No, there weren't any then. But I went to this. I went on this one job interview, and this guy recommended that I go see this pastor at this church in El Cajon, California. So I went to see him, and I went to the service that night. Somebody offered to let me sleep on their couch, so I had an address, I had a phone. They let me, use their laundry, and but I had a hatchback Mazda, and I'd put my suit in the back window because the heat would press it. coming through the back window.
Oh, funny, yeah.
So I pressed my suit.
Resourceful.
Yeah, but I mean, I've always said if you took everything I have away from me, in 5 years I'd have it back because I know how to do it. I've gone through that process. Now, if your circumstances are working 3 jobs, whose responsibility is it to change that? It's not mine. It's yours. If you're working 3 jobs, then what are you spending? We all probably live as well as we can. We live in the nicest apartment we can afford. We live in the nicest home we can afford.
And so someone with 3 jobs, they might have debt, or they might have someone who's ill, or they might have a
sure.
child
Yeah, there may be some bad
children
things
that
that have
cost money.
happened in their, that have happened in their life, but is there how can they change that?
Should the government assist them?
I think the government should assist people. I've always said, unless you're physically or mentally unable to work, being poor in the United States of America is a choice. You can go to the library or learn something,
You can create your own way.
You can create your own way, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Or go mow yards on the weekend or something, whatever it takes to where you can eliminate one of those jobs. The other thing that I've always told people is anywhere you work, it doesn't matter whether it's fast food or if you're the assistant to the CEO, learn as much as you can about that business and take it to your next job.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's good.
Because there are things that are common to all businesses.
That kind of weave through
Yes,
other ones.
They distribute a product, or they sell something, or they provide a service. So all of those things, everything I've ever learned, I've questioned the bosses about why do you do it this way, or why, or I'll suggest something and they'll say, well, we tried that, but it didn't work. Okay, fine.
So you learn it, you know how to carry
exactly,
it to your next gig.
And you go to your next job and you say, here's what I did at the last job. I did this and this and this.
How about housing? In the next 30 years, it's projected that 35 million houses are going to hit the market. That's a lot more houses than there are people who can buy them.
Well, it depends. What makes a house valuable?
Shelter.
Somebody wants it, right?
Right. But what if there's a
the
surplus
more
on
there
them?
are, the more competition there is for the house.
The housing prices are going to go down again?
Well, wouldn't you think so? I mean, if I can't sell my house at $300,000, am I going to drop the price to $280,000? And if I can't sell it at $280,000, I'm going to drop it to $250,000.
Yeah, but I think there's more houses than we'll need by millions, though.
Well, then that makes them even less expensive.
Will it cause a housing crash?
Could.
My theory is it's going to be enough housing for all the refugees coming our way.
Well, it might be. You got to ask yourself, why are people so desperate to get into the United States of America? Why?
Are they now?
Well, I don't say I'm slowing down. We put 1 million a year in here, legally.
I think
and how many illegal, I don't know. But
an interesting challenge for me to wrap my head around is in 20 years with projected 200 million climate refugees that will be looking for a place to go, including our coasts being affected, I think.
Well, look what happened to us in the 1900s. Everybody from Europe came here. They didn't leave Germany, Italy, France, you name it, to bring that here. They didn't come with the idea that, well, I want schools to speak my language. They came here saying, hey, I'm going to learn English. I'm going to be an American, and I'm going to, Teddy Roosevelt said the worst thing you can be is a hyphenated American.
So the difference then was people were desperate enough to come and assimilate and appreciate
and they
the
made
culture
a
to
life without government help.
And so versus
they
today,
depended on each other.
Yeah.
And that's what we're missing, because we got 126 poverty programs. Has that moved the needle in 60 years since Lyndon Johnson did the Great Society? I mean, we had third-generation people on welfare before Bill Clinton stopped, put a cap on welfare. And what happened? Yeah. People went out and got jobs.
Yeah.
Right now, there are more jobs than people to fill them.
I think that's interesting the healthcare piece with Social Security.
Yeah.
I think it was, my percentages are going to be wrong, but when Social Security started, I think it was 3% of the population signed up. And since then, it's up to maybe 50% with inflation. Over time, the inflation, and that's what I understand is crippling our economy.
Yeah, if I had my computer in front of me, I'd tell you how many retirees there are.
Here's an interesting piece. My sister and her husband hired a kind of headhunter because there is this huge wave of boomers trying to sell their businesses. Do you know a lot about what's happening there?
Well, I think a lot of people are retiring earlier. They've invested their money. I retired in 2009, well before my retirement date, because I could.
Is there going to be a desperation if boomers aren't able to sell their businesses that are hoping to sell them in order to retire?
Oh, let's close them down. If they built a business, the chances are they've certainly planned on what they're going to do when it's done. Okay. They're either going to give it to the kids. If the kids don't want it, they're going to sell it. If they can't sell it, they'll shut it down.
Yeah.
And sell the land or sell the building or whatever assets are available. Yeah, and get out. We see people do that all the time.
What's the first thought that comes to your mind when you hear "Okay, Boomer"?
Okay, Boomer. Yeah. Well, 46 to 64, I guess.
But what about when some spiteful millennial is like, "Okay, Boomer"?
I don't know that I've ever heard a spiteful somebody assault boomers.
Where do you think the term "Okay, Boomer" comes from?
I don't know. I've never heard it before.
It's been trending a lot lately. It kind of inspired this topic. Part of our last piece to this is what kind of planet are we going to inherit? I don't know, boomers can be accused of hoarding resources and all in for capitalism, but maybe not for the planet. And so seeing all the chaos with the planet going on right now and some boomers not maybe acting as quick as younger generations who are going to have to deal with a lot of problems, it kind of developed this "okay, Boomer" kind of a spiteful...
Well, what are the boomers supposed to do about it? What? Well, I'm supposed to write you a check?
Well, that's why it's so interesting.
Why is it my responsibility to... aren't I supposed to put my own mask on first and then help you?
Yeah, but I mean, looking out for younger generations, the income's pretty vastly different, 21% versus 3%.
Well, I will tell you that most boomers probably have children and grandchildren, and I think they care very much about their grandchildren and what they're going to leave behind. So I don't buy into it that boomers are sitting around with piles of cash in the closet. Or that they're not concerned about the what they're going to leave their grandchildren with.
What about power?
What about it? What is power? Gandhi had power. Was he rich? Mother Teresa had power.
Political power. I guess the political landscape is still.
Jesse Jackson has power. Al Sharpton has power. What are you telling me?
What does it take for boomers to release power to future generations when they say that our kids are our future?
Sure. Give them advice. How to succeed.
But when is the point where they'll release the power for kids, for younger generations to take over?
It's up to the kids to, just like their parents. Well, they either get an education or learn a craft and make a life.
Or get into politics and...
If you can't work, be a politician.
What should the baby boomers be most proud of?
I think what they have done in the last 50 years pretty remarkable. Air flight, jet planes, microwave ovens, flat screen TVs, superhighways, better cars, more efficient appliances. You name it, the list is endless.
Lots of technology, lots of gadgets. What good things have they done for the environment?
I don't know that the environment's their responsibility.
Do boomers care about the environment?
Sure. They care about their grandchildren, don't they?
Yeah, but that's where the rub of "Okay, Boomer" still is.
Well, it doesn't matter. You got to tell me boomers don't care about their grandkids and the world they're going to leave their grandkids? You're going to tell me they don't care?
I could not tell you that, no.
Okay. No, I don't think so either. And that's what I say when you project this onto, what we're really talking about here is we're projecting this onto rich people that they're not doing their part for the masses. I mean, they pay 86% of the taxes.
So it's this kind of resentment is only for the richest.
Well, I think so.
Piece of the
Yeah.
puzzle.
I don't see anybody protesting A-Rod for the money he's making. I don't see him protesting, Jennifer Lawrence for Hunger Games, all the money she's making in the Hunger Games. I don't see anybody protesting outside her house saying, "Hey, where's my share of your money, honey?" How come you get all this dough and, you get to live in luxury and for doing nothing? You stand in front of a stupid camera. But no, we'll vilify somebody for making laundry soap that cleans our clothes. We'll vilify somebody who cools the air in our homes or heats it, or vilify someone who makes a pharmaceutical that saves lives or whatever.
Does only focusing on the GDP take away from environmental quality?
I don't think so. Who do you think is going to save the planet? Because I know who's going to save it. Who do you think will save it?
I think it's younger generations.
No. Business will save it.
Where did baby boomers fall short?
They put too much value in material things.
So all the examples that you just listed of what they excelled at, it also propelled kind of consumerism.
Because I grew up without TV. Radio was that and books. Yeah, we had cars, but they weren't no heated cup holders. The bright lights were on the floor, with a button. So I think what happened was that as we grew up, we started seeing these things. Go back to when I was a kid, you'd pull into a gas station and 4 people would run out, clean your windshield, check your oil, fill your tank, check your tires, and they all went home and made a living doing that at a gas station. So what changed? Well, we got cable, we got cell phones, but that was service back in the day. That women didn't get out and pump their gas.
So people don't like to work because there's so many other cool things to do.
Well, no, it isn't that they don't like to work. What we do is we evaluate. You were talking about inflation. So I'm telling you that I worked for $1 an hour with my parents, and that $40 was more than enough for me to date and have a good time and go out with my friends, buy gas, go out and eat, have a pizza, all those things. That sounds ridiculous for $40 a week, but the buying power of $1 was more then than it is now. But what we look at is, what do you want in your home? You can get a $100 recliner, you can get a $500 recliner. You can get a 20-inch TV, you can get a 60-inch TV.
Yeah, it just depends on the kind of things that you add to your life.
Exactly, yeah. What kind of life do you want to live?
Yeah.
And I don't think that you are obligated to explain your lifestyle to somebody else that doesn't have your lifestyle.
As long as you're not getting handouts. Like if someone on food stamps, people want to know why they ask questions if you're asking for assistance.
Well, there should be a criteria. As I mentioned earlier, when Bill Clinton and the Congress put a cap on welfare, unemployment went down because the checks stopped coming. So people had to go out and go to work. I mean, that's what it is. I don't mind helping people, but 126 poverty programs? Are you kidding me?
If it were all compartmentalized into something like universal basic income,
I don't think people should be paid just to be paid.
I mean, they are kind of, all the bailouts that the Trump's talking about with the oil industry and the airlines. Isn't that paying
and who authorized all that? Obama had the same thing. Clinton had the same thing. Reagan had the same thing.
I'm not giving a. We always stab socialism, but it's kind of socialism in its own way. Even agriculture is bailed out all the time.
But we feed the world.
Aren't there other pieces of society that do their part, like teachers and others that could use?
And they choose those vocations.
Yeah, but we need teachers.
We need teachers, and there are teachers who say, "I want to be a teacher," and they go do it.
Yeah.
And they don't go do it because, gee, I'm going to make a mint as a teacher. Holy mackerel, I'm excited. This is going to be great. I'm going to live in a big house with a pool and everything.
Do you think teachers should get paid more?
I think that's up to the teachers are paid by the property taxes paid for by the people who work. I mean, I'm not saying they shouldn't be paid more, but it's up to all the school board can pay is what the property tax allows.
What are some stereotypes that you know about the other generations?
The ones we always hear about, are the welfare cheats, the people that scam the system, and
what generation? What generation?
Oh, it's all generations, I think.
What comes to your mind when you hear millennials?
Nothing really.
You don't hear any stereotypes about millennials?
Well, I hear they're putting off having children, which is wrong. I think they're not as materialistic, which is a good thing. Okay. Which I hear, but they do like the gadgets and stuff like that. And there's nothing wrong with that as long as you can, you live the life you like. But I think the dumbest thing I've ever heard is that people don't want to have children because they're worried about the future of the United States.
Actually, Sarah Blessing, who's on this event with you, started the local Sunrise movement there for the Green New Deal. She started it because of her anxiety around wanting to bring kids in, but not wanting to because she just doesn't think it's a healthy time. There's too much destruction happening. Yeah. I'm actually really excited for you and her to have this talk about having kids because she's, I think she's kind of heartbroken that she has to think about that.
She doesn't have to think about it.
The Sunrise Movement endorsed Bernie Sanders because he has the Green New Deal. Joe Biden, if he gets the nomination, it will get us back into the Paris Agreement probably. But the United Nations data says that the Paris Agreement still isn't enough.
Well, almost nobody met the criteria for it, and there's no teeth in it. There's no penalty if you don't meet whatever standards they set.
Well, so she's afraid that we're not going far enough, so she's afraid to bring a kid into the world.
I'm glad I've got a lot more confidence, and I'm not going to be around to see it.
Is the planet sick right now?
No.
What about all the news about the next great extinction?
I don't think there's going to be another extinction unless a meteor hits us. I mean, we're not going to run out of food. We're not going to run out of resources.
What if the bee, for example, goes extinct?
Well, that's going to take some time, but I'm totally convinced that business will solve that problem.
You're convinced that, is it business or God?
Well, business will solve it. They will. I mean, they just will. Because...
Yeah, let's talk about why will capitalism solve the climate crisis?
Because it's in their best interest to do it.
Survival is in their best interest to do it.
Walmart saved $20 million by making their receipts shorter. They're working to increase the fuel efficiency of their delivery vehicles way more than the cuts that the government wants because it's in their best interest to do it.
What about fossil fuel industry?
We're always going to have fossil fuels because we have to, unless you don't want to have plastic.
I think there's a lot of people who don't want to have plastic.
Well, you're not going to have cars. Everything in this room has fossil fuel in it. Everything from the rug to this table to the microphones has oil in it somewhere.
So people are skeptical about giving climate the credit that will solve this. What do you have to say to them?
Well, I have to say to them that I've been around for a long time. Probably longer than anybody that I'm going to be talking to. And I've seen what free enterprise and capitalism can do when motivated.
I have this thought in my mind kind of during the time of World War II where everybody had to be involved or else
everybody
they would
sacrificed,
die. Or else they would die.
Yeah, everybody went without coffee, without rubber, without steel. People went out and collected scrap metal and donated it.
I see something like that happening with climate.
But business is going to be the one that's really going to make the effect of it because they touch more than the average person does.
Won't it take policy also?
Well, I don't know. What kind of policy, what do you mean? That we're restricted from doing this because of climate?
Like pulling out of the Paris Agreement because China's not going to do it.
Well, why should we be in any agreement? Why can't we operate independently of ourselves and just do better. Yeah.
Are we doing
Sure.
that? I mean, Trump just eased the restrictions on dumping into streams.
Well, I doubt that we're going to pollute all the rivers in the United States because of something Trump did.
You think we're already doing it?
Well, I don't know if we're doing it or not, but I know that nobody's called my show and said, "Hey, the Missouri is full of pollutants."
I think our agriculture does a lot to it.
It does.
With a few examples, with methane, with poop, and also slaughterhouses and blood.
Well, and so do elk and moose and
but it's
wolves
not as-
and
it's not
buffalo.
It's not as concentrated though. Like for example, in the Chesapeake Bay, there's so many chicken farms around the area. There's so much poop that it's creating this huge dead zone
It can,
in the bay, and dead zones are popping up all over our coastlines.
Yeah.
I don't know. That doesn't seem like a very healthy planet.
And if it threatens business, business will do something about it.
You don't think it's threatening business yet?
Not yet. Well, if it was, they'd be doing something about it because they've got to survive. I mean, that's the whole purpose. Well, I'm just using Walmart as one example. I mean, their truck fleet's not the only example they're doing. They want zero waste in their stores.
Packaging?
Packaging,
That'd be great. Yeah, Costco needs that.
That's
also.
what they want. I mean, that's what they're working toward. They want zero waste because it cost them to dispose of it.
Do you care about the environment?
Sure, of course. Why would I not?
The spitefulness of OK Boomer is derived from younger generations thinking that older generations don't.
Well, they'd just be wrong. I mean, what? I don't breathe the same air they do?
People will be healthier. Less people will die if there's less fossil fuels and pollution in the air.
Yeah.
So why not be for?
Well, what are you
green
gonna replace fossil fuels with?
We don't have to replace fossil fuels entirely, but there are certain.
Well, you're talking about
pieces of
polluting with
energy,
cars,
like
right?
energy. I think we can.
Okay.
Could use.
What are you going to use instead?
Policy.
What are you going to use instead?
Battery.
Okay.
Propane.
Yeah. Okay. How do you dispose of 1,000-pound battery?
Well, I think that they last a while, and if you take them to
soda batteries and flashlights.
but they recycle batteries.
No, they don't. Not the ones in cars.
Oh, they don't. Well, then why do we take them to the dump to a special spot? Is that just
because
toxins
they have to be disposed of?
Yeah.
Because they're lithium.
So you're saying that batteries are worse than fossil fuels?
I'm saying that alternative fuels will come, but they'll come in their own time. Alexander Graham Bell and Watson didn't start on texting the day after they found the phone. We had 8-tracks before we had cassettes, before we had CDs. All these things evolve because somebody sits down and says, there's a better way to do this. And when we went after fossil fuels, in the 40s, you couldn't drill anywhere near what we can do now. I mean, even depth. We can go, miles in the ground.
Well, so the United Nations data says that in the next 10 years, if our carbon emissions aren't reduced, then it will be beyond doing something about.
Really?
I know you're skeptical, but
I'm not skeptical. I've lived through. Can you imagine what the pollution in New York City was like in 1900? Can you imagine what the pollution was like in 1840 when Buffalo, as far as you could see?
I mean, the buffalo weren't confined feedlots.
No, they were confined to as far as you could see.
But at the beginning of the Industrial Revolution, this is 200 years from that point of steadily increasing and.
But look at the
creating
pollution that was there. Why did we start the EPA, for example?
To make
under Nixon, right? Yeah, under Nixon.
What's it look like now, though? Gutted?
Better than we are. You're missing the point. We have businesses come along and they've said, look, you can't buy a regular flush toilet. It's a low flow toilet. You can't buy a all-you-can-drink shower head. You can't buy an incandescent bulb. Well, you can, but they can't manufacture them anymore here. Mm-hmm.
Market did that.
So the market is reacting to cleaning the planet. Everything in our house right now that we bought since we've been there. We got an energy efficient dishwasher. We got an energy efficient furnace. We got an energy efficient washer and dryer.
You do like the planet.
I do like the planet. Sure, everybody likes the planet. I wouldn't mind having a real shower head, though.
Do you believe that your generation will leave the planet better off than when you found it?
I think so.
In what ways?
In the ways that I've expressed, that business is going to find ways to do things more efficiently, and that means that it's going to take less out of the planet. And, just like I was talking about Walmart, they're reducing the mileage of their trucks, not because of the planet, but because it benefits them. If they get more mileage out of their vehicles, then who benefits? Well, Walmart benefits, but so do you. And they're the biggest employer in the United States.
What advice do you have for younger generations?
Younger generation, have faith. Look at how far we've come. And you think 10 years from now that's all going to go away? Well, that's ridiculous.
I don't think it's projected to go away. It's projected to be the tipping point from where we can't return.
That makes no sense at all.
What happens if all the ice caps melt?
So what?
Coastlines go up.
So what? We used to be able to walk from Asia to America.
Oh, okay. So this is all natural and going to be happening anyway in the history of the world.
Whether it's man-made or whether it happens or not, it's going to happen or not happen.
Is it going to be more expensive to deal with the demolished coastline cities or to prevent it by investing now? I think that's what everybody's talking about. That's what younger generations are terrified about, cleaning up after all of that.
You're talking about millions of dollars in real estate sitting there, and you think these people are afraid they're in danger? Do you really think?
Yeah. I bet it's on their
So
minds.
they wouldn't be selling? They wouldn't be saying, hey, boy, I got this deal for you, man. It's right on the beach. Come on. I just have faith that after living this amount of time and watching all of the things that have happened since the last 200 years, let's go back all the way back there. And you think that whatever is going on is going to be done in 9 years or 10 years or 8 years or whatever, that we're beyond hope. The entire planet is beyond hope. We have no... I'm glad I'm getting out.
Well, I know you are, but that's why people are angry, though.
What, they're angry at me for getting out?
You're getting out with your whole life, and people might be getting out, getting their life cut short.
Well, I'll tell you what I'm upset about. I'm upset that I won't get to see the advances in the next 50 years. That's what I'm upset about.
Oh, I think even in the next 10 years. So the UN, the Sustainable Development Goals to achieve by 2030, this is known as the Decade of Action. I think with the social push of the Decade of Action fused with capitalism will be a really exciting time. Tom Egelhoff, thanks so much for being here.
Pleasure.
I'm really excited for our OK Boomer event.
I'm ready.
A solid example of the silent generation, Tom Egelhoff is the nose to the grindstone sort, and seemingly always has been. If you took everything I have away from me, Tom remarks, in 5 years, I'd have it back. Because I know how to do it. I've gone through that process. He asserts that, barring physical or mental incapacity to work, being poor in this country is a choice. He neither believes in economic inequality nor a fair share tax on the wealthy. He believes in personal choice and accountability. He touts the reach and power of free enterprise and capitalism when properly motivated to change the course of human history, and believes, above all, that businesses will solve the bloated environmental economic concerns of the millennials and their progeny. Have faith, Tom advises the disillusioned youth. Have babies, create lives, pursue passions, work hard, and have faith in America and the ingenuity of the world.
A special thank you to Susan Karstensen, Zocalo Coffee House, Whistle Pig Korean, The State of Montana, Ben Johnson Photography, Loken Productions, Superfluous Industries, and Blunderbuss.
A shout out to our editors and media team, Pat Loken, Jessup Sandoval, Allison Gregory, Shannon Hughes, Jessica Byerly, Jacob Desch, Nathaniel Johns, and Nicholas Hill. Do you have an issue that's riddled by gridlock in your community? We want to hear from you. Shoot me a message at tate@iminterchange.org. That's Tate at iaminterchange.org. Until next time, share airtime and don't ruin dinner.